See? Hey, hopefully you're there. Hopefully you can see me and hear me and all that good stuff. Are you there, sis? All right, good. I don't know what's going on with all this craziness. Anyways, let's start over. I'm Sandra. I'm an alcoholic. It is an AA meeting. I just decided to go live on a new one. Anyways, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Spinning on and off. Why? Why do you? I don't know. Maybe it's the Wi-Fi. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, we're on step 9. 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. Alright, thank you, Lily. 2, came to believe a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, made the decision to turn our lives and our will over the care of God as we understood Him. 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defective characters. 7, humbly ask Him to remove our shortcomings. 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, continue to take personal inventory, and when wrong, admit it. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him. Pray for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message and to practice these principles in all our affairs. I know I skipped some of that. Sorry. It's one of those days. I've been gone for a while. So, been up on the mountain and got home Sunday, and been trying to get back to normal. Anyways, so I always put in the description what we're reading, the page we're on, storyline, and all of that stuff. So if you are wanting to read along, it's there for you to read along. If you don't, I'm going to read it anyway. So, and also please be mindful of people in the chat or the comments. Just because they are there doesn't mean that they are the alcoholic. But anyways, step 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Good judgment, a careful sense of timing, courage, and prudence. These are the qualities we shall need when we take step 9. After we have made the list of people we have harmed, have reflected carefully upon each instance, and have tried to possess ourselves of the right attitude in which to proceed, we will see that the making of direct amends divides those we should approach into several classes. There will be those who are dealt with just as soon as we become reasonably confident that we can maintain our sobriety. There will be those to whom we can make only partial restitution, less complete disclosure do them or others more harm than good. There will be other cases where action ought to be deferred, and still others in which by the direct personal contact at all. Most of us begin making certain kinds of direct amends from the day we join Alcoholics Anonymous. The moment we tell our families that we are really going to try to program the process has begun. In this area, there are seldom any question of timing or caution. We want to come in the door shouting the good news after coming from our meeting, or perhaps after we have finished reading the book Alcoholics Anonymous. We usually want to sit down with and readily admit the damage we have done by our drinking. Almost always we want to go further and admit other defects that have made us hard to live with. This will be a very different occasion, and in sharp contrast with those hangover mornings when we alternated between relieving ourselves and blaming the family and everyone else for our troubles. At this first sitting, it is necessary only that we make a general admission of our defects. It may be unwise at this stage to rehash certain harrowing episodes. Good judgment will suggest that we ought to take our time. While we may be quite willing to reveal the very worst, we must be sure to remember that we cannot buy our own peace of mind at the expense of others. Much the same approach will apply at the office of factory. We shall at once think of a few people who know all about our drinking and who have been more affected by it. But even in these cases, we may need to use a little more discretion than we did with the family. We may not want to say anything for several weeks or longer. First, we will wish to be reasonably certain that we are on the AA beam. Then we are ready to go to these people to tell them what AA is and what we are trying to do. Against this background, we can freely admit the damage we have done and make our apologies. We can pay or promise to pay whatever obligations, financial or otherwise, we owe. The generous response of most people to such quiet sincerity will often astonish us. Even our severest and most justified critics will frequently meet us more than halfway on the first trial. This atmosphere of approval and praise is apt to be so exhilarating as to put us off balance by creating an insatiable appetite for more of the same. Or we may be tipped over in the other direction when in rare cases we get a cool and skeptical reception. This will tempt us to argue or to press our point, or maybe it will tempt us to discouragement and pessimism. But if we have prepared ourselves well in advance, such reaction will not deflect us from our steady and even purpose. After taking this primarily trail at making amends, we may enjoy such a sense of relief that we conclude our task is finished. We will want to rest on our laurels. The temptation to skip the more humiliating and dreaded meetings that still remain may be great. We will often manufacture plausible excuses for dodging these issues entirely. Or we may just procrastinate, telling ourselves the time is not yet, when in reality we have already passed up many of fine chances to right a serious wrong. Let's not talk prudence while practicing evasion. As soon as we begin to feel confident in our new way of life and have begun by our behavior and example to convince those about us that we are indeed changing for the better, it is usually safe to talk in complete frankness with those who have been seriously affected, even those who may be only a little or not at all aware of what we have done to them. The only exception we will make will be cases where our disclosure would cause actual harm. These conversations can begin in a casual or natural way, but if no such opportunity presents itself, at some point we will want to summon all our courage, head straight for the person concerned, and lay our cards on the table. We needn't wallow in excessive remorse for those we have harmed, but amends at this level should always be forthright and generous. There can only be one consideration which should qualify our desire for a complete disclosure of the damage we have done. That will arise in the occasional situation where to make a full revelation would seriously harm the one to whom we are making amends, or, quite as important, account of extramarital adventuring upon the shoulders of our unsuspecting wife or husband. And even in those cases where such a matter must be discussed, let's try to avoid harming third parties, whoever they may be. It does not lighten our burden when we recklessly make the crosses of others heavier. Many a razor edge question can arise in other departments of life where this same principle is involved. Suppose, for instance, that we have drunk up a good chunk of our firm's money, whether by borrowing or on a heavier padded expense account. Suppose that this may continue to go undetected if we say nothing. Do we instantly confess our irregularities to the firm in the practical certainty that we will be fired and become unemployable? Are we going to be so rigidly righteous about making amends that we don't care what happens to the family at home? Or do we first consult those who are to be? Do we lay the matter before our sponsor, spiritual advisor, earnestly asking God's help and guidance, meanwhile resolving to do the right thing when it becomes clear, cost what it may? Of course, there is no pat answer which can fit all such dilemmas, but all of them do require a complete willingness to make amends fast and as far as may be possible in a given set of conditions. Above all, we should try to be absolutely sure that we are delaying because we are afraid. The readiness to take the full consequences of our past acts and to take responsibility for the well-being of others at the same time is the very spirit of step 9. So in step 9, there's a fine line of, like for me, for instance, some of my things I needed to make amends for, so I thought I had to make amends for, weren't my fault. There was nothing that I could have done to change what happened because, again, it wasn't my fault. I wasn't doing the act. It just happens I was the one being hurt. But I have made a lot of amends to many people, mostly my family members, because they are the ones that I hurt most. I didn't have any close friends really. I think I had like maybe 2, maybe 3. So my friends that I had before I started drinking and while I was drinking and all of that, I have made my amends to them, and I'm glad that they are still my friends. I still talk to them to this day. Not every day, but mostly every day I talk to them. But family is who I hurt the most, and I am still making amends for my mistakes and things I did and said and all of that to my family members. Like even my twin sister, I blamed a lot on her that, it was a joint issue. But I've had to make amends to my twin. I made amends to my parents. I'm still making my amends because there's a lot of crap that I did to my family members growing up and being an alcoholic. So I do recommend making your amends when you can. Yeah, you can do them on your own time. I do my amends as soon as things like hit my mind of like taking somebody change, my kids, their change, stuff like that. I still am making amends for those, but you definitely got to make amends because it affects your daily life. And I don't know, it just step 9 can be hard for some people, depending on things that have happened. But anyways, I was gone. Left last Sunday. I went out of town. I was up on Mount Hood for 7 days. A couple days were not great. Arguing and just stupid stuff. And so, of course, I had to make amends right off on all of those and just turn it into something more fun. Hey, lady, I hope you're good. Good to see you here. Been missing you a lot. It is a huge step. Making your amends is a big deal. I've made amends to a lot of people, and the hard part is admitting that